Alright folks, today we're reacting to the Dragon's Dogma 2 Disaster. This is an RPG game that's come out. This is Asmongold. If you don't know who he is, he often talks about games. He does reactions to everything, so here I am doing my rare reaction to him. I do think in this video he has a lot of ridiculously bad takes, and he quite often does. He has a big audience that will just go along with what he says. And I actually think he's just straight wrong in this instance. And I don't like this video in general because the tone it puts out is, hey, you accept rubbish games. Now, granted, as I've got older and my audience has got older, we don't moan about games quite as much as we used to, but we still want games to be good. We still want the people that have tons of time and energy to sink into these games to have a good time. Dragon's Dogma 2 is not good. It is an abomination of a video game, and it's everything I dislike. So let's roll it. Let's explain.
Reviews are fire. I'll read a few of these posts here. A lot of people are unhappy about this. I did see this. This was like this really made them look bad. So basically the Dragon's Dogma 2 director said that if you dislike fast travel, all you have to do is to make...
Okay, so the Dragon's Dogma 2 guy, if you don't like fast travel, you've got to make it fun. Meaning, open world, it's got to be cool to look at. Remember, like, the first time you would walk through Oblivion, you were overwhelmed in whatever it was, like 2006 at this point. What they did is they sold you the ability to fast travel at $2.99. Now, I don't care what the reasoning is, what the logic is. Apparently, the warp location marker that they're selling for $3, you still need to activate some juice to use it. So you technically need to play the game to activate it. The point is, they are selling fast travel, right? And listen to this,
Make travel fun, right? Which is the solution to fast travel is not, or the solution to moving around in the map is not adding fast travel, it's to make traveling fun, which is true, right? I mean, I think that's a perfect situation, but the truth is that whenever you say that and then there's a microtransaction to make fast travel easier, then yes, obviously it's an advantage. I'm going to say two things that are both true but might seem contradictory. This is bad and it makes the game worse, and it also doesn't matter. This type of gameplay and this stuff will not affect your gameplay experience at all.
Okay, so first of all, this is where I think is totally disingenuous. Maybe has a vested interest in Dragon's Dogma 2 been a success, I don't know. But listen, this is the same guy that was moaning when World of Warcraft put in store mounts. And people said, who cares? It's just a store mount. And what he said is, well, if they know they can get away with store mounts, what else can they get away with? And it ramped and it ramped and it ramped. The point is, you've got these people in the chat, I don't know if you can quite see them where I am, saying true. How is it true? If the developer or the publisher or anyone knows they can get away with selling fast travel, and you're just meant to bend over backwards and say, well, I'll just not buy it, I'll just not use it, it's really not that important. What a stupid idea. This is like saying, we're going to put a toll bridge right outside of your house, and it's going to cost money to leave the street. And then somebody going, well, I never leave the house, so it's no problem to me. Put it in. Point is, once they begin these things, once they start putting these things in, it's a slippery slope. A slippery slope that we've seen from time and time again, that they just try to get away with more and more and more. The idea that you just go, oh, well, this doesn't affect me, therefore it's not a problem, is the exact reason why modern games are shit in the first place.
There are a lot of port crystals in the game. My understanding is that there is a cap of 10 of them. And so if you buy one of these, you still need the item in order to activate the port crystal.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you dress this up. It doesn't matter if you've got... The fact is, it's in the game. Somebody has decided to put a warp location marker in the game. Now, they're going to incentivize you to use that marker. Now, if I was a developer and I thought... people are willingly paying for bullets and reloads in a shooting game, what might I do if I'm developing the game? I might put less bullets in the game. I might put more bullets in the game. I might incentivize reloading. I might make tons of enemies come at you at once, and then you think, oh, I need to reload, I'll pay. The point is, once you start putting in things like this, it's a slippery slope. And to not acknowledge it is totally disingenuous to his millions and millions of fans around the world.
So you are effectively buying a car, but you don't have any gas. You have to earn the gas in-game. A lot of people that upvote comments like this and talk about this stuff, most of the people that do that don't actually know anything about the game that they're complaining about. Like they haven't played the game, etc. And also I want to say too, one other factor is that I do think that these comments and also the reviews, I think everything here is totally fucking fair. Absolutely.
He often jumps from point to point. So which one is it? Are the comments totally fair and justified? Or are the people making these comments, do they have no idea what they're talking about? Which one is it?
Fair. 100% fair. There is nothing wrong with these comments. They're totally okay, and they are completely justified in saying them, because I think that, again, people should be able to give their feedback, even if it is fucking stupid. People are emotional.
He thinks this feedback is stupid. I want to put that across. He thinks that you being frustrated that a game that costs $70, $80, that is selling you the opportunity to fast travel, the fact you're moaning about that is stupid. But we're not done. We're not done yet. There's a lot more here.
About this, and I agree with the emotion, but it is not logical. Let me explain why it's not logical. Microtransactions are bad. Why are microtransactions bad? They are bad because they create a profit incentive for a developer to make a game inconvenient. That's not happening here. Because number one, this doesn't really make the game more convenient because you need fairy stones to use it. Number two,
it doesn't matter if the developer hasn't made the game less inconvenient for this feature. The fact is, if you want warp location markers in the game so badly, just put them in a vendor and make the player play the game. The fact is, they're charging you for no reason. There is no real reason for a warp location marker to cost $3. This isn't DLC that they've spent, their entire studio has spent 6 months developing. This is something that's basically already in the game and they've just decided, let's sell it. So, okay, as maybe they haven't made it less efficient, but what they're doing is selling nonsensical things for no reason, just to see what they can get away with.
this was not a change in the game. This was simply something that was added. And the first game and the second game's travel system is basically the exact same. I think that there is an infinite fairy stone that you get in the first game, but you only get that in the DLC, which came out years later. And also that it makes the game and makes progress in the game meaningless because you can pay for progress. This is not paying for progress. It's not. And again, is it good? No, it's not good. I'm gonna have to say this 100 times because people get it twisted. It's not good. But let's be logical with this. It's not a big deal. Because if it was a big deal, here's the real fucking proof. If this stuff was really a big deal, then Devil May Cry 5 and Monster Hunter World would not be loved games whenever they had the...
This is a stupid take, because what he's saying is, this can't be a bad thing, because another game did it, and they were universally liked. That doesn't really matter. Just because you have a bunch of hive mind people that don't really think critically about anything and just, you know, they go and buy the next Zelda game because it's Zelda and say, well, Zelda sold really well, so if we put that feature in this game, then this feature also must be good because it was in a game that was really well liked. They both can, it can, you know, Monster Hunter World can have a terrible pay-to-win location marker system and still be terrible.
Exact same type of bullshit in it. That's the reason. Basically, this is what gamers want. Gamers want, like, PC, like... So here is where... This is kind of why I started to do the video, because for the next 5 minutes, kind of actually annoys me. So we'll hear what he's got to say. Like hardcore PC gamers, anti-microtransaction, people that really dislike it. They want to create an environment where it is so toxic for a game developer to add in a microtransaction that the game developer is afraid of adding the microtransaction in. And so what players tried to do is they try to create an insanely toxic atmosphere for developers to try to punish them for adding in microtransactions.
No, I disagree. I disagree entirely. I don't think people are sat around in a cult saying, hey, let's gather and let's try to create an insanely toxic environment so this developer can't put any microtransactions in the game. Not true at all. And he's trying to generalize the whole PC community here. I get what he's trying to say. Some people like to just be angry for angry's sake. But what he's saying here is, oh, what people are doing is they're just getting angry and angry and angrier just so developers are scared to put microtransactions in the game. Number one, if that was true, good. I don't think microtransactions, or at least some microtransactions, should be in games, but that is not what's happening. What's happening is people have waited for this game patiently, they've loaded up the game, and they see simple things like one character slot, terrible performance, heavy priced game, fast travel markers, right? They're seeing all of these things in their game that they wanted to play, and on top of that they see these egregious microtransactions that have no reason to be there, and they're upset about it and they're voicing their concern. And that is what you should do as a consumer. You've bought the product, you're voicing your concern. I don't think PC players are all sat around saying we want no microtransactions in any game, and any game that releases, we're going to become so toxic that developers are scared to put microtransactions in games. Look at League of Legends. Look at Path of Exile. You know, they have tons and tons of microtransactions that people don't moan about because the base product is good. So they play it and they pay. And if they don't want to pay, they won't pay. This idea that, every single PC game has a toxic environment that no developer's allowed to put in microtransactions is nonsense. I'm not quite sure why he's defending this game so much, because it is a shitty practice, a shitty performing game that it should not feature these things. You're playing a single player RPG game. Anyway, there's more.
Transactions. But the problem with that is that the developers don't really care, and also the people that you're complaining against. So basically, the players are getting mad at the...
So here's the thing. He says the players are getting mad at the developers when really it's the publishers and the people with all the equity in the game that are the problem. Yeah, maybe. So he's saying, you people that play the game, you're stupid for getting mad at the developers. It's not the developers' fault. If you have a real world opinion and an actual opinion, what I believe is the players can get mad at whoever they want. It's not the player's job to know who created what individual component of the game. And telling them you're stupid because you're moaning at the wrong person doesn't actually make that person wrong or minimise their problem to just, ignore him, he's got the wrong person, that problem doesn't matter. No, his problem still matters. If you've got a massive pothole outside of your house and every single time you're worried about damaging your car, okay, maybe it's not the local council that needs to fix it. Maybe it's the government that needs to produce more money to give the local council to fix the pothole. Whoever it is, the person is still allowed to be mad at the massive fucking pothole outside of his house. And just because he's moaning at the wrong person, you can't then say, hey, you have no right to moan, you're moaning at the wrong person. No, there is a problem, they're upset about it, and they are allowed to be disappointed.
Developers buy the game. If you don't like this type of system, don't buy it. If you do anything...
This notion, he says, if you don't like the system, don't buy the game. That is not, that is not a solution. I remember we had Total Biscuit. Total Biscuit would not stand for something like this. Nowadays, the content creators are a little more safe. They're protecting their brand. We know, I think Asmongold may have had a vested interest in Dragon's Dogma being well liked, because at one point I do believe he was making a character so other people could play Dragon's Dogma 2 character in the game. Anyway, point is, you're allowed to moan at this, and the idea of, hey, just don't buy it, doesn't quite work anymore. I think we're all well aware that saying, hey, don't buy it, that doesn't solve the issue, because there are people called whales. You might be in Diablo Immortal, and 99% of people might say, these prices of these virtual coins are too expensive, I'm not going to touch it. There will be people out there with a lot of money, a lot of low IQ, or just expendable money, and they just want to skip, pay progress, whatever, get every single goodie they can do for the game that they like, and they will pay it. That doesn't mean that you're meant to say, just everybody's meant to go, hey, I'm just not going to buy the game. What do you do if you really like Dogmas 2? You've been waiting for it for years. Dragon's Dogma 2 finally comes out and it's got this one egregious microtransaction. Are you trying to say, oh, well, what you should do is not purchase the product and and just be good with it. You know, when the reality is, yeah, obviously in a perfect universe that's what happens, but we know that's not really possible, is it? You're going to buy the game, you're probably not going to purchase the MTX, and you're going to have a moan about it and ask them, hey, in future, please don't do that. Maybe put something else in that I'm willing to buy that's not quite as egregious.
You know, it's like literally nothing else will work.
But the idea of just, hey, this isn't affecting me, so I'm chill with it and I'm not going to moan about it, and you have no right to get mad because, well, it doesn't affect me, is ridiculous. It affects practices in the industry, and it affects the, you know. So here he does a list, right, of why Dragon's Dogma 2 reviews are bad. He says there's people moaning about performance, there's people moaning about transactions, the price, save issues, and he lists these in a specific order of importance, right? But listen to this, okay?
Happened with like 15 other IPC, because I either like they don't really have like the performance is fine on my PC, and if it's not,
the performance is fine on my PC, therefore we're not going to moan at the PC performance. So people that moan about the performance on the reviews, they're not justified because it runs fine on my PC. This is a guy, a multi-millionaire that owns a PC company where he probably has an RTX 4090. Like, it's crazy. So he goes on to say that
I'm sure it will be fixed in time.
I'm sure it will be fixed. And along these things, he goes along the list and he says, well, I'm sure they're going to be fixed in time. But look at the list. Why should you spend $70 on a game and then be told, hey, don't moan about the fact it constantly runs and there are people that have streamed it that have 15 crashes in a single hour, because it's probably going to be fixed. The question is, if you're asking me to pay for a fast travel marker, the least you can do is make sure the game actually works, and they haven't done that. Microtransactions are an appalling mess in the game. The price, he says, well, I've been buying $70 games since the dawn of time, so there's inflation, so price doesn't matter. Well, you're a millionaire, so obviously the price is going to be inconsequential to you when you've probably made $300-400 off this video alone. Save issues, he says, yeah, there's 1 or 2 save issues, I'm sure they'll be fixed. Having an RPG where saves get corrupted and saves don't work and the performance is bad is totally unacceptable. He should be coming out here and saying, hey, I know I made a character for Dragon's Dogma 2 and I know I've enjoyed it when I'm playing it, but I cannot recommend the game. Do not buy the game until these key things have been fixed. He says de novo's not an issue because, well, it doesn't really do much. Well, it does. It's just an added layer of performance sort of jarringness onto the game when it's really not going to stop people pirating it anyway. You have to pay to change a character appearance. He says he's not that bothered about that. And you can only have one character. How can you have an RPG game where you're only allowed one character? Basically, this whole video just annoyed me because he just basically goes on to say that pretty much, well, it's not really affecting me and you can just ignore it, so get on with it. Why should you be happy at all about purchasing a game for $80? Let's say you've worked the entire month, you've paid your bills, and you look at your bank account and you're like, alright, I've got enough money here to go and buy this game, and you go and buy it, and immediately you can barely run it, it's crashing constantly, they're trying to sell you MTX, you can't save the game, you've only got one character, and then when you've made your character, they're asking you to pay to change the appearance of the character. And then you have to think to yourself, oh, well, I'm not going to moan about it because Asmongold told me I could just ignore all these things. Yeah, I just thought it was a really ridiculous take, and I just think you need the big industry people to be calling out this nonsense, not just sweeping it under the rug.